Hello! Welcome to Brain Spill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank, and today we're going to be talking about a man who is more successful with women than I ever will be in 5 lifetimes. Yes, this man is arguably one of the most prolific womanizers in music history. We are speaking of none other than the blues shock rock artist, Screaming Jay Hawkins. For the younger audience out there, you may not know who this is, so I'm going to give you a rundown and a brief history lesson. Thanks, Wikipedia. Jay Hawkins was born on the 18th of July 1929 in Cleveland, Ohio, and he grew up with an incredibly interesting and varied life. At only 18 months old, he was adopted by Blackfoot Indians, and his upbringing brought him into the world of music. Growing up, Jay Hawkins had the opportunity to learn classical piano, and in his 20s, he picked up the guitar and learnt that too. In fact, if you want to know how varied this man's life was, it states that when he was 13, he signed up for the army with a forged birth certificate, so clearly underage. This was in 1942, and he allegedly served a combat role, but it was also said that he would regularly entertain the other troops with his musical talents. So he must have been quite good at that age, because why would they have kept him around if not? Much like me and my many failed attempts at getting my passion projects off the ground, this man originally wanted to be an opera singer. However, as things didn't quite go to plan, he eventually grew up and became a pianist. In 1951, Jay Hawkins joined the band of guitarist Tiny Grimes, and even appeared in some of the recordings of his. However, Jay Hawkins' career would not have a kickstart until he transitioned into his solo career. And oh boy, what a change that would be. Jay Hawkins would regularly don leopard skins, red leather, and wild hats whenever he was on stage, so he was quite a character to look at. And of course, the highlight of his career was the recording and release of the song I Put a Spell on You in 1956. Even if you've never heard of the name Screaming Jay Hawkins before, you will know this song. So I'm just going to give you a moment to open up a new tab, pause this video, type in that song and listen to it. And I can guarantee you'll know the song. No, I can wait. I can wait. Just make sure you come back, okay? Thanks. You done? Fantastic. Right, this song is so popular, it was voted in the top 500 most influential songs of all time in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And honestly, I can understand why. His voice is just unique, it's powerful, it's raw, it's really something different to a lot of the music that was out at that time. And when you looked up the song, yes, I did see you do that, you would have realised that many artists have covered this song as well. And for good reason, because it's a classic, and many artists have managed to put their own spin on a truly iconic piece of music. Now, this part of the story is by far my favourite bit, and it's about the recording of that song. Because apparently, Jay Hawkins originally wanted the song I Put a Spell on You to be a ballad. However, that wasn't the case once they got into the recording studio and got absolutely shit-faced. Hawkins screamed, grunted, and gurgled his way through the tune with utter drunken abandon. Hawkins allegedly passed out by the end of the recording session, and when he listened back to the song, he had no recollection of how he'd even come to that point and how he'd even known how to make the song. Therefore, during the studio recording of the song, Jay Hawkins had to relearn the song he'd done whilst he was absolutely hammered. Thinking about it, if I made an episode of Brain Spill in that condition, I don't think I could have made something quite as iconic as Jay Hawkins did, but heck, I guess there's only one way to test that theory. Cheers. Anyway, the recording studio actually released a second version of the song, where a lot of the grunting was removed due to the overt sexuality the song had with it. Yes, this is leading somewhere, just bear with me guys. Some dude offered Jay Hawkins $300 to jump out of a coffin on stage. Probably for shits and giggles, but it doesn't really say in the article why this was even the case. However, Jay Hawkins originally wasn't too fond of the idea and even commented on the following. "No black dude gets in a coffin alive. They don't expect to get out." Eventually, Jay Hawkins agreed to do this because back then, $300 was probably quite a lot of money. So, Jay Hawkins went through with the onstage stunt, and this was arguably the very start of his shock rock horror phase, and really the start of an entirely new genre of music, focusing largely on the theatrical performances and the intention to try and shock the audience. Jay Hawkins and his rock shock persona have reportedly been the inspirations behind famous artists such as Arthur Brown and the absolutely legendary Alice Cooper. Although Jay Hawkins was never a massive fan of his shock rock persona, he can't deny that it would have had a massive impact on his career, his life, and the impact on his music. At one stage, Jay Hawkins even said the following in an interview: "If it were up to me, I wouldn't be called Screaming Jay Hawkins. James Brown did an awful lot of screaming, but never got called Screaming James Brown. Why can't people take me as a regular singer without making a boogeyman out of me?" Okay, so at this point in the video, you're probably wondering how the title feeds into this video and how the 50+ children comes into it. Well, I'm getting to that, and I think it was incredibly important to give you a bit of a background of the character so you knew the type of life he led. One thing I haven't really touched on yet was that throughout his career, he was a prolific womanizer. His career spanned from the early 50s all the way to the year 2000, meaning that with that many years of music under his belt, you would assume that he would have a fair few encounters during the way. Now, this man has had 6 legitimate marriages that are known about, and 3 children who are legitimate also. So out of the potential 50 children he's got, we can definitely say he has 3 because they are his close children. Now, just to give you an idea as to how prolific of a man this was, one of his girlfriends attempted to stab him in the back when she found him with another woman. So it must be pretty crazy on tour, not gonna lie. Screaming Jay Hawkins died on the 12th of February 2000, and although it's known that he had 3 legitimate children, it's argued that he may have upwards of 50+ children due to the amount of encounters he had. In fact, a massive search was undertaken after his death to see if they could track down as many of his children as possible. A friend of Jay Hawkins, a banker and film producer named Marilyn Nagelane, was essentially working on his life story and said that the theory that he could have upwards of 57 children wasn't an exaggeration. He wasn't boasting, she said. He was just sad that he didn't get to know many of the people who should have been more present in his life. Shortly after his death, a website was set up by Merrill called jayskids.com, which essentially was a website where people could sign up and state whether they thought that they were a legitimate child of the late Jay Hawkins. This website was set up in an attempt to track down as many of his legitimate children as possible and to see if they could backtrack all of this on a family tree. Now, the website jayskids.com isn't actually live anymore, but with the power of the internet and the use of the Wayback Machine, I went back in time and looked on the website for you, so I can tell you what exactly was on it and how it went down. In fact, the website read, "A massive search is underway to locate the children of recently deceased legendary rhythm and blues singer Screaming Jay Hawkins, who, by his own estimation, fathered 57 children. A gathering for the children, friends and other family will be held sometime during the summer of 2000. If you believe you are or know of one of his children, please click on the submission link." This link led to a web form where you could enter your details and explain your potential relationship with the late singer. The purpose behind this was for the website staff to sort through the applications, find the ones that were legitimate, and see if they could actually determine if these were Jay's kids. Alongside a brief biopsy of Screaming Jay Hawkins' life, there was a further page on the website where people could put submissions down and say what their relationship with the late singer was. And using the Wayback Machine, I've managed to pull up a few quotes, some of which are legitimate, but I'm going to go through them anyway and you can judge for yourself. "I have pictures of Jay with my family in my house. I have letters written to my mother from Jay Hawkins. I believe he is my father. Mama was a wild woman. She told me Jay was my daddy, and that's all I have. I've got the blues and I miss my daddy. My mama was a waitress in a Detroit diner when she met Hawkins. Don't know if he's my dad, but I wish he was. When I was 12 years old, I was sitting at a truck stop in suburban New Jersey with my mother. I asked her what flavour ice cream she wanted, and she said, 'You are the child of the famed rhythm and blues artist Screaming Jay Hawkins.' From that moment on, I knew that I was marked for greatness. I feel that I may be one of the many sons of Mr. Screaming, because I enjoy climbing in and out of coffins, as well as shaking around skulls and poles. Thank you. I mean, quite frankly, a lot of the comments on this website I saw were probably piss takes. Jay Hawkins himself estimated that he may have upwards of 57 children, so some of these may very well have been legitimate. By the end of the submission stage, it was determined that the website had over 2,500 applications. And I knew he was a busy guy, but Jesus. By the end of all this, it was determined that 33 of the 57 children were legitimately identified as very likely being the offspring of the late singer. The investigation at one stage even determined that he might have upwards of 75 children, which is just madness. Like, who even knows anymore at this point? It wasn't like an FBI investigation, no DNA tests, but I asked for the documents, the locations, dates of birth, and the stories check out. There is also a family resemblance. As the website promised, family, friends, and musicians that knew the singer attended an event at the House of Blues in 2001. That included the potential children that had been tracked down using the website jayskids.com. I mean, honestly, it's quite a shame that the website isn't there anymore, because that's a piece of internet history which has just disappeared, and I mean, most people will probably never know it was even there, which is quite sad really. Although, a silver lining to this whole thing is that if you were one of the children that were tracked down during the website and attended the event, you would have likely have met an entire family of people who you never even knew were related to you, which is pretty amazing. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to be notified as soon as I upload my next video, be sure to hit the bell button. And if you've got any ideas as to what videos you'd like me to discuss next, let me know down in the comments below. As always, sources used in the video will be in the description. Right, well, I'm gonna put a spell on you and bow out of this bitch. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.